I kept telling myself it was just a phase. That one day, Cassie and Laura, my wife's daughters from her first marriage, would finally see what I'd done for them. I wasn't trying to be their buddy. I wasn't putting on a show. I was building a life, brick by brick, year after year. But to them, I was just mom's new husband, the man who moved in, the man who didn't belong. Their real dad, Jim, vanished when they were 8 and 10. But he left his name like a shadow in the hallway, still on their school records, still whispered in the cards they got every third birthday, still on the walls of their teenage arguments. It didn't matter that I was the one who showed up. I moved into their lives 12 years ago, when they were old enough to remember him, and just young enough to nice it. Kathleen, their mother, my wife, told me to give it time, that they were just adjusting, that it wasn't personal. But it always was. Cassie would say things like, "Jim used to take us to this same park. Remember that, Laura?" Loud enough for me to hear, looking straight at me when she said it, like it was a test. Laura would tell her friends, "My real dad lives in Oregon, but we're going to visit him soon. He lived in Oregon for 3 months, 5 years ago, but the idea of him was enough. That's all they needed. The idea of someone better than me." Still, I kept showing up. I coached their rec league games, paid for their braces, took on extra shifts when Kathleen's hours got cut, built Cassie a treehouse with my own hands, laid each plank myself, hoping maybe when it was done, she'd stop calling me by my first name. She never did. And still, I waited. I hoped. I kept thinking one day they'd look at me, not past me, that maybe they'd understand what it meant to love someone you didn't create, but chose anyway. One Thursday, I came home from the auto shop. My back was stiff from bending under Laura's car for 5 hours. Her fuel pump was failing and she didn't even know it. I saved her from breaking down on the interstate. I walked into the kitchen, still wearing my grease-stained jacket. And then I heard her. Laura was leaning against the counter, scrolling through her phone, not even bothering to glance at me when she said, "We didn't ask you to spend money on us. Stop pretending." Cassie was at the table, one foot tucked under her like always, smirking. "Yeah, we'll see Dad soon anyway. You're not anyone." And Kathleen, my wife, the woman I had moved states for, given up promotions for, she stood at the sink, washing a single coffee cup like it was sacred. Not a word, not even a wince. That silence hit harder than their words ever could. I had lived in that house for 12 years. Every bill that got paid, me. Every insurance form signed, me. The vacations, the tutors, the gadgets they broke and replaced with new ones, me. The heat, the water, the roof over their damn heads, me. And it wasn't even the money. Not really. It was the effort, the consistency. I didn't miss birthdays. I didn't forget report cards. I showed up when their own father sent texts like, "Sorry, can't make it. Rain check?" Rain check. The man was a storm cloud that never showed. But they still held out their hands like children, waiting for the rain. I threw Laura a surprise birthday party last month. Rented an art studio. Hired a professional instructor. There were balloons, catered food, playlists of her favorite songs. I even bought special brushes so her friends could take home their own canvas paintings. I stood in the back while they filmed videos and posted them online. Nobody tagged me. The next morning, I got a text from Laura. "No thanks. No, that was great. Just this. You just get in the way. Watch the stream online." I stared at it for a full minute before replying. "Fine. Have a nice evening." That was it. No anger. No confrontation. I wasn't even surprised anymore. Just tired. Done. It was like standing in front of a locked door for 12 years, knocking gently, thinking someday someone would open it. But I realized that morning, no one was home, so I stopped knocking. That weekend, I walked into the living room and Laura was sitting on the couch watching Netflix on the TV I paid for, feet curled up under her like she owned the space. She barely glanced at me. "Hey," I said quietly, "you get your brakes checked after the shop?" She shrugged. "I guess. I fixed them for you. That clunking? It was the calipers. Could have locked up on you." Another shrug. Cool. I stood there for a moment, waiting. For what? I don't know. Gratitude? A smile? Something. Anything. But all I got was silence. Not even fake politeness. Just a teenager ignoring the man who kept her car moving, her fridge full, her future paid for. So I left the room. Quietly. No argument. No lecture. Just walked up the stairs, closed the bedroom door, and sat at the edge of the bed until the house stopped breathing around me. That's when I started thinking about the subscriptions. Spotify Family tied to my card. Cassie's Uber account mine. Netflix me. Their phones, their cloud storage, the Wi-Fi they took for granted. The thermostat they cranked up like it was free. The Group Prime account I had set up for fast shipping on the art supplies they ordered and lost. All of it ran through me. And in that moment, sitting in the bedroom of the house I paid for, it hit me. They didn't hate me despite what I gave them. They hated me because I gave it. Because giving meant I existed. Because support is invisible until it demands to be seen. And I realized I didn't want to be invisible anymore. That night, I opened my laptop, one tab at a time. First, I disconnected Cassie's Uber account. Then her Hulu profile. Then the Amazon household. I changed the Prime password and removed both their names. I paused their auto deliveries. I opened the home Wi-Fi settings and booted their phones off the network. Changed the router login too. Then I moved to banking. Removed my card from Spotify. Canceled the Instacart monthly. Disabled Apple Pay on Kathleen's phone. It had always been tied to my Visa. One click and it was gone. I did the same with the credit card saved in the DoorDash app. Then I went further, closed the joint checking account we never used except when it was convenient for her. Opened a new one. In my name only. And still I wasn't angry. I wasn't retaliating. This wasn't revenge. This was clarity. This was the sound of the lights coming on. The next morning, no one noticed. Cassie shouted from upstairs about the Wi-Fi. I just sipped my coffee and said, "Try restarting the router." She stomped around for 20 minutes before giving up and leaving. Laura came down with her laptop in hand. "The internet's not working. I have to upload my assignment." "Try the hotspot on your phone," I said. She blinked. "I ran out of data." I nodded slowly. "Guess you'll have to find a cafe." She huffed. "God, this house *CKs. And Kathleen?" She didn't say a word. Just sat at the table, looking at her phone. I think she'd already seen the card decline. But she didn't ask. Not yet. Took 3 days. 3 days before the washing machine broke. A belt came loose and the drum wouldn't spin. I heard it chug and stall and scream. Laura yelled about her wet clothes piling up. Kathleen called the appliance guy, but he didn't pick up. She tried the website, couldn't schedule a repair. Why? Because I had canceled the warranty service last month. Another line item I paid for. Another forgotten pillar in a house they didn't believe I held up. So they tried to run a load again. Didn't work. Laura's tone grew sharp. "Can't you just call someone? It's your house." I looked at her level. "No, I'm sure your dad can help." She blinked. "What? Jim?" I said. "Isn't that what you said? That he's your real dad? Call him." She stared at me like I'd grown a second head. Then turned to Kathleen. "Mom? Seriously?" Kathleen looked tired. "We'll figure it out." No one said thank you. No one said sorry. Next came the classes. Laura tried to access her online course materials. Locked out. Turns out her school login expired because she hadn't paid the technology fee. That $140 invoice? I used to auto-pay it each term. Not this time. She called me from upstairs. "The school website's glitching." "No," I called back. "It's not." Pause. "You didn't pay? Did you?" "Nope." More silence. Then a slammed door. Cassie missed a registration deadline for prom tickets. She needed a download code from an email I'd paid to have expedited through her school's verification system. No access. No confirmation. No ticket. She came home fuming. Kathleen tried to calm her. I stayed out of the room. Just stood in the garage wiping down tools that didn't need cleaning. That night, Kathleen finally approached me. Her voice was low. Careful. They're just kids. I didn't answer. You can't punish them with money. I turned to her, slow and tired. I'm not punishing them, I said. I'm just done paying for the disrespect. She went quiet. That quiet again. That quiet that had become her favorite way to speak. It all unraveled faster after that. Cassie's fuel card was next. She found out at the gas station card declined. Called Kathleen. Kathleen didn't know what to say. She was still trying to redirect her own paycheck after I removed my name from her bank's routing number. Laura texted Jim, her biological dad. I saw the message pop up on the shared family tablet. Can you help with school stuff? Really stuck RN. Like anything would help. He sent $50. Then ghosted. And still they didn't ask me. Not directly. Just waited for the wind to shift back in their favor. Waited for the man they hated to start carrying the weight again. But I didn't move. I didn't lift a finger. Instead, I started removing my name from everything I'd built. The car insurance policy, I dropped myself. Kathleen's premiums tripled overnight. I got the notice in the mail. I left it on the kitchen counter. Unopened. That evening, she shouted, "You can't just leave us like this." I stared at her. "I didn't leave," I said. "You erased me." No reply. No apology. Just her breath, sharp and shallow. Like she was choking on a truth she'd refused to name. She always said she didn't want to lose her daughters. But in protecting them from consequence, she sacrificed the only man holding the roof up. This wasn't some stunt. This wasn't a power play. It was math. I gave. They took. And when they decided I wasn't part of the family, I agreed. And I stopped carrying a weight that was never mine. Something strange happened once I stopped paying. The noise faded. Not all at once. It didn't collapse in a single dramatic moment. It thinned. Like air leaking out of a tire you didn't realize was punctured. Each day a little quieter. Each night a little heavier. Cassie stopped blasting music in the mornings. Laura stopped slamming doors. Kathleen stopped humming while she cooked. The house didn't feel angry anymore. Felt cautious. Like a place that knew it had made a mistake but didn't know how to apologize. I noticed it in small ways. Cassie stood at the gas pump staring at the screen long after the card declined. Like maybe it would change its mind. She didn't yell. Didn't call me. Just drove home on fumes and went straight to her room. That night she skipped dinner. Laura lost her scholarship 3 weeks later. She didn't tell me directly. I overheard her crying on the phone to a friend, whispering like shame had weight. Apparently missing that exam cost her more than a grade. Cost her eligibility. All those plans she talked about. All those schools she named like destinations instead of debts. Gone. Kathleen's insurance premium tripled after I removed myself. She tried to argue with the agent. I heard her through the hallway wall. She said my name like a curse, like an explanation, like something stolen from her. When she hung up, she didn't say anything. She just sat at the kitchen table and stared at her hands. I didn't feel victorious. I felt lighter. For the first time in years, my chest didn't ache when I pulled into the driveway. I didn't brace myself before opening the door. I didn't prepare speeches I'd never give or swallow words I'd never be allowed to finish. I came home, set my keys down, and breathed. Just breathed. Laura tried Jim again. This time she didn't dress it up. No emojis. No soft language. "I'm screwed. I need help. Like real help." He sent another 50, then asked if she could pay him back later. That was the moment something broke in her. She didn't cry after that. She went quiet, withdrawn, started packing a bag without telling anyone. Moved in with a friend whose parents didn't ask questions. Kathleen found out through a text. Cassie lasted longer. Pride held her together for a while. She borrowed rides, skipped meals, tried to pretend nothing was wrong. But when she missed her exam because she couldn't download the ticket without the paid service I'd canceled, she finally cracked. She came into the garage while I was organizing tools. Just stood there. Didn't speak. I waited. "You did this on purpose," she said finally. I wiped my hands on a rag. Looked at her. "No," I said. "I stopped preventing it." She didn't understand the difference. Not yet. Kathleen tried once more. Late at night. Quiet voice. Careful steps. They're suffering. So was I said. She didn't argue. Weeks passed. Then months. The house emptied slowly, like a tide pulling back. Laura never came back. Cassie left after a fight with Kathleen over money that wasn't there. She went to gym, stayed 3 weeks, came back angrier, left again. That time she didn't say where. Kathleen moved out one morning while I was at work. No note, no goodbye, just her keys missing from the hook. Closets half empty, her toothbrush gone. It was clean, efficient, like a transaction finally closed. I didn't chase her. I stayed. I repainted the walls, changed the locks, took the 4th chair from the table and put it in the garage. Reclaimed rooms that had never felt like mine. The silence stopped feeling like punishment. Felt earned. A letter arrived 2 months later. From Kathleen. I'm sorry. I didn't defend you. I was scared of losing them. I folded it. Put it in a drawer. Didn't throw it away. Didn't respond either. Because I wasn't the one who got lost. They were. They lost a man who showed up. Who stayed. Who carried weight without being asked. They traded certainty for blood. Comfort for pride. And when the bill came due, they didn't know who to look at anymore. I walk through the house now without flinching. I eat at the table alone. I sleep through the night. I don't wait for appreciation that never comes. They called me a wallet with a face. So I removed the wallet. And what was left? Just a man. Breathing. Standing. Free. Tell me, was I wrong to stop carrying people who made it clear they didn't want me? Or would you have kept paying, hoping respect would magically arrive someday? Because I finally stopped hoping. And it saved me. Kathleen's keys were gone from the hook by the door. I stood there for a while, staring at the empty space like it might mean something else. But it didn't. Just like the dent in the living room wall from Cassie's suitcase, or the dent in my chest that hadn't gone away in months. No note, no goodbye, just gone. I found her closet half empty, half, as if she couldn't finish the job of leaving completely. Her coffee mug still sat on the kitchen counter. Her slippers tucked near the side of the bed, facing inward like she'd be back. But she wouldn't be. I didn't call her, not to ask where she'd gone, and not to beg her to come back. What was there left to say? Laura had been gone for weeks. Cassie, after 2 short-lived stints with Jim and then a friend's couch, had left town. Her room was bare. Bed stripped, posters peeled from the wall. All that was left behind was a single curling photo, her 8th grade school portrait. She'd looked so proud in it, so unguarded. I almost threw it away, but I didn't. I left it where it was, taped crooked to the wall, right above the patch of paint she'd never finished. A half-hearted shade of teal she once insisted would make the room pop. Now it was just another unfinished thing in a house full of them. I spent the first few weeks rearranging, not out of spite, not to erase them, but because I needed to know what the house looked like when it wasn't bent around their habits. I took down the hooks they never used in the entryway, removed the 4th chair from the kitchen table and slid it into storage, replaced the Wi-Fi password, donated half the clutter they left behind, washed the bedsheets, took their photos off the mantel and placed them in a box, carefully, one by one. Then I repainted the hallway. One long wall that used to be covered in dried handprints and chalkboard scribbles and birthday banners taped up every November. Took 3 coats to cover all of it. I didn't paint over it out of hate. I painted over it because it didn't belong to me anymore. That history wasn't mine. I had paid for it, preserved it, but I was never really invited to live in it. I remember the first night after it was done. I sat on the couch, house completely quiet. No thuds overhead. No doors slamming. No Kathleen calling out someone's name. Just me. And I waited for the loneliness to feel like a punishment. But it didn't. Felt like peace. Because I'd spent so long performing. So long contorting myself into someone they might tolerate. I thought if I paid enough, fixed enough, smiled enough, they'd change. They'd come around. They'd choose me. But all they saw was the space I filled after Jim left. They needed a placeholder. not a parent. And God help me, I accepted that role. For years. For birthdays and funerals and hospital bills and holidays. I was the steady hand, the night driver, the emergency contact. But I was never dad. They made that clear. And I believed them. So when Kathleen left, I didn't chase her. Because what would I be chasing? A woman who let her children spit on me, then quietly wiped their mouths without ever looking me in the eye? She always said she was stuck in the middle, that she couldn't choose between them. But indecision is still a decision. And her silence spoke loudest. Weeks passed. Then one day a letter came. Just a plain envelope. No return address. Her handwriting on the front. Inside, I'm sorry. I should have stood up for you. I was scared of losing them. I thought if I kept things calm, they'd come around. But all I did was let them wear you down. I didn't stop them. And I should have. I see that now. I read it twice. Then folded it and placed it in the drawer where I keep things I don't know what to do with, warranty slips, expired IDs, extra keys to doors I've already changed. I didn't write back. Not out of cruelty. Not even out of pride. But because I finally understood that saying sorry doesn't undo silence. You can't repair a bridge you never tried to cross. They all left in their own ways. Some with shouting. Some with quiet. But none of them turned around. Not really. And I didn't stop them. Because I was tired. Because I finally believed them when they said I didn't belong. Because the version of me they saw, just the bank account, the backup ride, the forgotten figure at the end of the hallway, wasn't who I was anymore. I was no longer their stepfather. I was no longer their provider. I became what they always insisted I was. A stranger. Spring came. The garden out front exploded with color. I used to tend it for Kathleen. She liked roses. Cassie liked the lilies. Laura, the wild ones. Snapdragons and coneflowers. Anything messy. I kept them alive for years. Trimmed them, pruned them. Spent weekends down on my knees, digging out weeds so their lives could feel more beautiful than mine. But this time I let half the garden go. Planted what I wanted. Simple things. Hardy. Quiet. Nothing flashy. Flowers that didn't beg for praise. Just stood upright and bloomed when it was time. A neighbor passed by one afternoon. She waved, then paused. "House is looking different," she said. I smiled. "Yeah, feels different too." She tilted her head. "Everyone okay?" "Everyone's where they're supposed to be." She didn't ask more. She just nodded and moved on. That night, I sat out on the back steps and watched the porch light flicker in the dark. The silence settled like a blanket around me. I thought of Cassie, the way she used to call me, "Hey," instead of using my name. I thought of Laura's teenage smirks, her rehearsed disdain. I thought of Kathleen's quiet betrayals, her deflections, her shrugs, her reluctance to tell the truth when it counted. And I realized none of them had ever truly seen me. They saw what I gave, what I did, what I paid for, but never who I was. So now they live without it. Without the dinners, the tuition, the quiet hand catching them from behind. They lost that, and maybe someday they'll see what they lost. But if they don't, I'll still be here, breathing, free, standing in a house that finally feels like mine. So I'll leave you with this. They told me I was nothing, so I gave them what nothing feels like. And I ask you, would you have stayed? Would you have paid for your own erasure? Or would you, like me, have finally become the stranger they always saw?